Switch 2 reveal, big deal, super fun, lots of fun. We all had a lot of fun. That was the that was the topic of the day, and I did like a post-reveal hype stream, and you know, kind of getting my finger on the pulse of what the community is most interested in here. You know, you've got the main Switch 2 stuff, and then I think kind of surrounding that, you've got like Mario Kart. You know, that's also of great interest. But I mean, I would say probably even more than that, though. Surprisingly, at least according to my experience interacting with fans, past just the regular old Switch 2 stuff, there was one thing that a lot of people really wanted to know my opinion of. Yeah, probably even more so than Mario Kart. It was Donkey Kong. It was the designs of the Mario Kart characters, not even the mechanics. No one even seems to seems to care about the potentially just like game-changing new mechanics. Some sort of like stamina or fuel system, totally different tracks, a new campaign mode, 24 players. None of that seems to matter. Everybody just wanted to know my thoughts on the new designs, and in particular, DK's design, because his is the most interesting. Because all of the other characters, you could make an argument that they are just better reflecting their designs from Mario Kart 64. Just like the kind of more squished down, you know, boxy, kind of rigid. Like they had, you know, you could see on like Mario when he'd go over a bump and there'd be like a really cool animation. But like when they're just kind of sitting there with their hands on the wheel and they've got these like really, I mean, it's fun. These fun little, just kind of boxy, classic style looks. But DK in particular did not just look like his Mario Kart 64 equivalent. He looked very different. He looks closest to the Mario movie version of DK. And so it's been a really, like, way more so than I expected. That has been a big topic of debate. And because I got so many people wondering what my opinion was, I thought I might as well just kind of make a video talking about it. And as far as like the Kart 64 designs go, I will just say I probably already talked about it in my video. I like those. I think that's fun. It's cute. It's nostalgic. It's just different. Anytime Nintendo does anything other than just that like really kind of homogenized Mario look that they've been going for the last like 10 years or so. Any attempt at all to break away from that and give us just a more stylized and interesting version of these characters, something just expressive on an artistic level. You know, the art team, the people who did the art for this game, this was the version of these characters that they wanted to give us, and I think that's really cool. And it's also kind of bold, you know, assuming that this isn't some sort of like alternate art thing. Oh, I turned on classic designs. It could have been. It still technically could have been a tease for some sort of like skin swapping thing where, oh, it's not just like Mario and Tanuki Mario, it's like Mario and Mario Kart 64 Mario. I don't know. You could even throw like Super NES ones in there if you wanted to. So technically that could still be what that was. But whatever the case, I like the designs. I am a huge sucker for that. Okay, well, originally for the whole thing where they used to have like, you know, they do like 3D sprites and they would convert them into pixel sprites. So they kind of look like they're CG, but they're actually made of pixels. I just thought, you know, I just thought it looked super amazing. It's like that in Kart 64. I love it. That technique was kind of pioneered by Donkey Kong Country. I'm a huge fan of that. But then I also love this thing now where you can take those like original renders and make the games look like that. You know, you've got Mario 64. People have like mods or texture packs or whatever to make it look like the art, like the promotional CG images that released alongside Super Mario 64. Now you can like play the game and it looks like that. I love it. So yeah, all that to say, I really like what they did with the characters here. But yeah, it is true. DK does not really look like DK in Kart 64, because DK in Kart 64 looks like, you know, the way DK has looked for years, the way essentially Donkey Kong Country Super NES version of DK. That was Kart 64 DK. This version here really does look mostly like the DK from the Mario movie. But it is also true that DK from the Mario movie looked more like classic DK. So it's kind of hard to say. I mean, like, you know, I'm not a Donkey Kong scholar. I'm not completely aware of all of the different iterations of the character. I can't tell you exactly where all of these little elements are coming from, especially because a lot of these elements are very subtle. Between the two, if I had to pick between this being like the movie version or a different version, or like just like more in line with classic DK, I want to just say classic. I know like the dark around the eyes is a thing. At the same time, we've had plenty of versions of Donkey Kong Country or modern DK where he's also kind of got the dark around the eyes, but then it just comes down to how furrowed his brow is, like how sharp the furrow is. It's sometimes it's furrowed more, and in this case, it is not as furrowed. You've got more space around it and the dark around the eyes. So I really don't know. And I know that, like, this is something I really can't comment much on at all. I've only heard people kind of mention it here and there. There is this idea that rare DK is the DK essentially that we've had for so many years now, and that maybe Miyamoto in particular, not that he wasn't a fan of it, but that it's just kind of like DK was his baby. He created DK. It was like the first Nintendo. He's the OG Nintendo character. And so that character was, other companies, non-Japanese companies made DK games, and they changed the look of DK to fit the style. And I know, like, obviously he was involved in the development of the original DKC Returns. Like, Miyamoto's always been there. It's just like maybe there's this idea that DK has gotten away from him just a little bit, and it's been a really long time with this more, like, I don't know, could you call it Western flavored or whatever, or it's just, Rare and Retro Studios, they had their own version of DK, and it's kind of like Miyamoto taking him back a little bit. And that's why when they made the Mario movie, that's why they made a new version of DK that looks a little bit more like older DK, because that's the DK that Miyamoto made and remembers and knows and loves and all that. And so that's kind of why I am a little bit hesitant to say that this is movie DK. And I know that idea itself is pretty controversial. I've seen some people, just the very idea that we would get a Mario movie and then some of those ideas and those designs would be reflected back into the games. I've seen a pretty good amount of pushback against that idea, or rather, people who are not happy with the idea, who believe that it may be happening, but they don't necessarily like it. They want there to be a pretty firm, disconnect, space between the movie versions of the characters and the game versions of the characters, especially because the movie is really so different. It really is a very, very different animal. Even the personalities of the characters are pretty different. Just look at Peach. They're two completely different characters entirely that look largely the same. But even then, there were plenty of people who feel that, at the very least on the cover of Princess Peach Showtime, not necessarily in the game, but at least like on the cover, like the American version of the cover, they're like, I don't know, they kind of made her look a little bit more like a movie Peach. So I don't know, it's a whole thing, and I can sort of understand it. And I know that there's this idea that this really could represent a more or less permanent, or at least an indefinite change, like, not to say they'll never change it again after this, but at the moment, this could be a new direction for DK that they want to go in, and they want to keep going in that direction. They want to take DK and kind of bring him back from those more, Western designs, or rather just the rare and retro designs, make him a little bit more in line with the classic look. This could be DK's new look. It could be that, I'm sure we're gonna get a new DK game on Switch 2. I'm actually baffled that we didn't get one on Switch 1. There were rumors for years, and so I don't know. I'm all but certain that we are going to get a new one. We don't know if it'll be 2D or 3D. Probably 2D. Hope it's 3D, but that's the whole thing. And it could be that when we get a new one, DK is going to more or less look like this. That is possible. However, I'm not betting on that at all. Like, at all. And it's because look at the other characters. Look at these other characters. Obviously, Mario Kart 9 or whatever it's going to be, or 10, if you count Tour, blah, blah, blah. Going with more classic feeling designs is the whole thing here. All of the characters look a little bit more classic, and it could just be that when they were looking at the characters, they made most of them look like their Kart 64 counterparts, but when they looked at DK, they thought, he doesn't look classic enough. You know, it's a little bit hard to make him look like the original Donkey Kong Country version in 3D, and obviously they didn't want to use like whatever he is in the Super NES kart, Donkey Kong Jr. They didn't want to make him look like that. It needs to be DK. So they just thought, hey, if we're just going for an overall classic look, let's just make him look like classic DK. You know, and maybe they're basing that off of the more classic movie design, or maybe this is just what classic DK kind of looks like. This is what this is what modern classic DK looks like, and that could be all this is. It absolutely could. We could get a new Donkey Kong game announced at the Direct in April, for all we know, and maybe he would look just like he's looked for the last 20, 30, whatever years, or some other thing. It could be some other totally different look. I really don't know. That's kind of the interesting thing about DK. He's probably gone through more transformations than, I don't know, basically any other Nintendo characters. There have been little changes and tweaks here and there for all of them. I mean, literally all of them, especially Mario. He's gone through so many transformations, but like, I don't know. DK, they really have kind of tweaked DK. Maybe a little bit more, you know, especially with like Donkey Kong Country itself at the time was like a modernizing of the character. That was a brand new and modern look. But then later DKC Returns was kind of like, kind of a reintroduction of the character. So that's, I mean, you know, it's another evolution. And even that is old by now. So like, I hear they're already remastering the darn thing. So yeah, I'm just saying, like, I'm not counting on anything yet. I kind of just think whatever, you know, I mean, I guess I should say, if this were the permanent look for DK going forward, if he's going to more or less look like his movie design, I would say I was kind of split. Maybe slightly more in the disappointed camp, just because, I don't know, I like modern DK. I like the way that he looks. You know, the old versions of the characters, the classic look from way back in the day. It is cute, but I think it served well then. I like modernization now, even if I do like them toying with the classic look here and there. So overall, I would say, I hope this isn't a permanent change. But if it is, I still do just like that Nintendo is willing to experiment with these things. I like that they're making changes. You know, change is a good thing. Change isn't so bad. You know, maybe it's just the older I get. I don't know. I don't gotta hold on to the old thing forever. I had the old thing for a long time. I'm gonna give us something new. Sure. So those are my thoughts on the new DK, potentially. And, you know, if you want to summarize it all, it's just kind of like, yeah, I don't know. It might be the new one. It might not. It might stick around. It might not. Yeah, it's not my favorite, but it's also kind of cool. So I'm pretty annoyingly on the fence about it, I suppose. But we'll see. I mean, we'll probably see pretty darn soon. We really just have to wait for the next thing that has DK in it, and you just kind of see how he is depicted. Or even just waiting for, you know, April 2nd, they'll probably do a full reveal for the next Mario Kart. And even there, we might get a better, oh yeah, look, they all have classic designs. Oh, look at all these characters. They made all of them look like their old counterparts from various games. And so maybe this isn't a thing at all. Or we will just see, like, yeah, I guess maybe this is the new DK. Yeah. I don't know. But I do know I love you.